You know, the funny thing about this faith is that God will test you. God will see if you're serious about Him, if you're serious about His cause. And for me, that test, I almost didn't pass that test. So as you can see by the title of this video, it's a question to you. It's a very, very deep, very honest question. I'm not expecting a lot of people to click on this video, but if you did, I applaud you. But now let's get to work. Let's get to work on your character. I want to ask you, are you after purpose or are you after comfort? I know for a very long time, me personally, I was after comfort. Anytime a challenge came my way, anytime when I was pursuing something and I didn't feel motivated, I didn't have the drive anymore, I would just give up. I loved playing football, but when it got hard, I didn't want to develop at the pace that I needed to develop to keep up with my competition. Now, similarly with my walk with God, as soon as I sacrificed my life for Him, as soon as I got baptized, I thought things were going to get easier. I thought, okay, I did the hard work now, they dunked me in the water, and I did what I had to do. I'm saved. Little did I know that wasn't the end. That was the very, very beginning of God's ministry in my life. Now for me personally, I just want to tell you a quick story about how God changed me to be someone that is more after discomfort, more after purpose than comfort. So I was getting really close to God, right? After I got baptized, 2 or 3 months in, I was going to church every weekend. I was very, very committed, and I still am. But there was a point where I started feeling God more, especially during worship time. Like previously, I would just worship just for the sake of worshiping, just for the sake of singing, because I'm seeing everybody else sing and worship. But then, as I started getting closer to God, as He started revealing Himself more to me, I started to see a different purpose and a different feeling to it. And when I worshipped this time, after really getting closer to God, I started to feel things more. I started to feel more goosebumps than I usually do while I'm worshiping. And then I was like, this is God, right? Surely. And I found a certain level of comfort in that because it sort of gave me the validation that, okay, I'm doing what I have to do. But then God quickly struck that down in one weekend while I was praising. I think I was at a cell group, not a weekend, it was a Wednesday. I was at a cell group and I remember it like it was yesterday, even though it was 3 months ago. I remember not feeling the feelings that I usually feel while I'm worshiping. I would attach these feelings, I would attach this certain level of comfort and closeness to God, I would attach it to this feeling that I'm feeling. Not knowing that Jesus isn't a feeling, He's a person. He's a person that you need to learn to love the same way that He learned to love you. God knows our flaws, God knows what we want, God knows the deepest desires of our hearts. He knows what annoys us, He knows what will please us, He knows what will give us goosebumps. He knew exactly where I was in my head, in my faith. He knew that, okay, I'm getting to a stage that where I feel goosebumps while I'm worshiping, that means I'm in the Spirit. That means God is there. But He quickly struck that down, and one weekend I didn't get those feelings. After getting them for so long, I was like, what's going on? And I didn't get those feelings on that Wednesday at that cell group while I was worshiping. I didn't get the feeling. And I started to ask myself, what's going on? Like, why am I not feeling the feelings that I usually feel? And then that's when doubt started creeping in. That's when I had gotten too comfortable with God. I had gotten too comfortable in my walk very, very early on, like I would usually get comfortable with the things that I'm pursuing in my general life. But God told me that, hey, this is different. This is different. Here you're gonna have to work every single time. You don't get to a certain level of your faith, you don't get to a certain stage and think that, oh, I've arrived, or this is it. I don't have to work any harder for God. And He taught me very, very, very early on that I'm gonna have to work extremely hard every single time to get closer to it. But that's a beautiful thing. Because like this playlist is called, it's Walk With Me. It's a walk. This relationship that we have with God, it's not a run, it's not a marathon, it's not a race, there's not an end date to it. It's obviously when He comes, that's a different story. When He fulfills what He said in the Word in Revelation to come, that's a completely different story. But until then, it's a walk. We have to keep on chasing God. We have to keep on running after Him. Let me quickly bring a word into this that actually spoke to me. This is Philippians 2 verse 12. Therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. We have to continue to work. We can't seek comfort. We have to seek that purpose. And the purpose for us is to get closer to God, to do what is well and pleasing to Him, so that we can fulfill what He wants us to fulfill here on earth. Continuing on, it reads, For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill His good purpose. Are we after God, or are we after comfort, or are we after purpose? After this week of not feeling the things that I usually felt, I asked a friend and he was like, bro, God is not a feeling. God is a person. You have to learn to love God. And it's a constant learn. There's a constant learning curve every single time you commit to this faith, every time you commit to get closer to God, every time you commit to seek Him out, you have to expect to change. You have to expect to learn something. I'm learning this right now. In my walk with God, He taught me very, very early on that this is not going to be an easy road. This is not going to be my usual or get comfortable and then die down. In your walk with God, you have to constantly seek discomfort. You have to constantly seek your purpose, because your purpose is in that character that God is building you. But God is building in you. In that moment, I didn't feel like God was building anything in me. I just felt really, really bad. I was like, did I do something wrong? Am I not getting closer to God? Is He moving further away from me? Little did I know, God was teaching me. And maybe right now in your faith, you may feel further from Him. You may feel like you're losing track of, you're not making as much progress as you used to in the beginning. But maybe, just maybe, God is telling you that you need to push through. Maybe God is teaching you that in times like these, you have to have the resilience, you have to have the grit, you have to have that spirit and that faith to push through. Because sometimes we just put ourselves in these positions and we think that this is the be-all and the end-all. Like, I've done everything I need to do for God. No. This is a walk. You need to go until the very, very end, until you are seated at His right hand and He calls you good and faithful servant. We need to keep on going. We need to keep on seeking discomfort. It's not easy, because character building, even without speaking about faith, if you've been through a lot in your life, that has taught you things that you wouldn't learn from a book. It's experiences that build your character. And your character makes up the person that you are. And in God's eyes, you have a spiritual character. That spiritual character is something that has to be built and built and built. You can't just stay flat. You have to keep on going up. You have to have a trend where every single week you are going through something that is going to build you. In that position that I was in, I thought I was further from God, even though I was so close to Him. But I felt like I was further from Him because I wasn't feeling the feelings. But God isn't a feeling. Jesus isn't a feeling. He's a person that we need to learn to love. And I keep on stressing this because I feel like there's someone that's behind this camera who feels like they may be further from God than than they wish to be. They may feel like they're lost. They may feel like God is not near, but He is near. You have to seek Him out. You have to take the steps to get closer to Him, because He's already opened the door with His sacrifice. With Him dying on the cross, that door is open. We need to walk through it. God will never force Himself onto us. God will never force Himself onto you. You need to walk through the door. Sometimes it's a door that you have to really force yourself to walk through, because you don't know what's on the other side of that door. But I knew that after that weekend, after not feeling Him, I prayed and I was like, I'm going to force myself through this door. I'm going to force myself through this block. I'm going to force myself through this little speed bump, and I'm going to chase after God. And then I realized while I was preparing for this message that maybe someone is going through the same thing. Maybe you feel like you're at a stop. Maybe you feel like you've hit a wall in your faith. But I trust you. But I need you to trust that you can get through it. You have power. You have the Holy Spirit in you. The same one that raised Jesus from the dead. The same one that split the Red Sea. You have that Spirit in you to soldier on. And you need to soldier on. And when God sees that, you are going to put the biggest smile on His face. He will be so pleased with you. It says also in His word, I think this was Psalm 36 verse 4. Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. What does it mean to take delight in the Lord? It means to do what's pleasing unto Him. You pushing through, you committing, you sacrificing your time for Him, you spreading His word, you chasing after Him even though you don't feel like it. That makes God so happy. That makes Him delightful. It says in His word, this is a promise. Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. He knows what we want. He's opened the door for us to go into it. We need to go into it now. I hope this message will give you the encouragement, give you the bravery to help you to soldier on, even though you may feel like God's not there. Even though you may feel further from Him. Chase after that discomfort. God will build your character, and when it comes again, you'll be able to go straight through it. I promise. Have a good day.